Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Reds Minor League Talk. We're going to be a little bit short this week by comparison to the past couple of weeks where I've gone live a few times and we've gone well over an hour and a half. If this one lasts more than 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be a little bit surprised given what we've got on my notes here real quick. But yeah, let's jump right in. I think the big story so far, well, there's been two, and we'll hit on both of them, but we'll start with what Amir Garrett has done. Coming into the spring, he was not in the conversation for the rotation, according to Brian Price. Price laid out 8 different guys, and it seems like 4 of those guys were locks, and then Robert Stevenson, Sal Romano, Tyler Mahle, and Michael Lorenzen were in this competition for that number 5 spot. And Amir Garrett was not named there, although Brian Price did say that there was a chance he could get starts later in the spring, depending on how things went. Well, that lit a fire under Amir Garrett, I guess. That and he's said that he wasn't really happy with his performance last year because let's be honest, he struggled. Now we do know that he had a hip injury and that led to some of those problems, but you know Amir's a very competitive guy, and he kind of took that and he worked his way through the hip problem, and he got PRP injections, he got stem cell injections in his hip. He's feeling much better. Came out the first time out through 2 innings, struck out 4 batters. Just looked great. Velocity was 95, 97 miles an hour. That's not where Amir Garrett usually throws. Even before his hip was hurt, he wasn't really throwing that hard. He touched there, but he would never sit there. He was sitting there that first time out. Earlier this week, he went out and he pitched 3 more. They would have been perfect innings if there wasn't an error, but we'll get to that one in a little bit. But 3 otherwise perfect innings. He struck out the first 6 batters he faced. And then there was the error to lead off the 3rd inning that he took, and then he got 3 straight ground outs to get out of the inning. So we're sitting here. Amir Garrett's faced 16 batters, struck out 10 of them. One of them reached by an error, and then, it's just if somebody has come into spring training and just seemed like they've had a chip on their shoulder and taken over and just dominated, it's been Amir. And if somebody in spring training, either in the Cactus League or the Grapefruit League, is having a better start to the spring than he is, I'd like to see that person because, Amir Garrett has been just unbelievable so far. Now, I wrote an article yesterday. If you haven't read that, you should probably go check it out. But I spoke with someone who was in Arizona, who was at the game, and Amir was sitting 94 to 98 miles an hour with his fastball once again. This is uncharted territory for him. And, if he is going to be able to do this all season long, now obviously he's not going to strike out 10 out of every 16 batters he faces. I don't know exactly what that is, but that's over 60%. You're not going to do that. But if he's going to miss a high number of at-bats, I know words, guys. If he's going to miss a high number of bats, and if he's going to show control like he has so far this spring, it's going to be tough to keep him out of the rotation. And if somehow he does these things and doesn't make the rotation, well, that's good news for the Reds because that means that everybody else just absolutely dominated too. But let's talk about that error. The error was made by Nick Senzel at shortstop. He allowed a runner to reach base, only guy that's reached against Amir Garrett so far this spring. And this game was not on TV, so I'm only going off of what the radio announcers were saying. But he followed that up with 2 strong plays in the field later that inning. Both of the announcers were very impressed by the range that he showed on the plays, so that's a good sign. I wouldn't take the 1 error that he's made so far, or he had a 1 throw that pulled the first baseman off the bag in another game. They ruled it a hit. I didn't see it, so I have no idea if it was actually an error or not, and it was just friendly scoring. But I think that we're going to have a little bit of give and take with Nick Senzel at shortstop because it's not really a position that he's played. Very limited sample size so far. There's been a little bit of good and a little bit of bad depending on exactly what you want to look at. But you're going to get that, and hopefully the Reds kind of stick things out and they let him keep playing and getting more used to the position, and we'll see some of these things shore themselves up with more repetitions, both in games and out, because when you're learning a new position like that, you probably are spending a little bit more time before the games, working with your instructors, to get your footwork right around the bag, and how to charge baseballs differently at shortstop, different little things like that. So it's going to be a process. I think that it does give the Reds some wiggle room if he has an outstanding spring, that they can realistically say we need to send him to AAA to work on his defense, and they can quote unquote play the game as far as service time goes without actually just making things up like we saw a couple years ago with Chris Bryant and the Chicago Cubs. When he had an OPS of 1,600 in the spring, and they said he needed to work on his defense, and so they sent him down to AAA for like 10 days to work on his defense, and then they called him up like literally the day they would have gained that extra year of service. But I don't know. What else do we got? Okay, so we kind of got an update on Jose Siri. And I say kind of because it wasn't exactly clear what Brian Price was saying. He met with the media the other day, and right now the media they're a little thin out in Goodyear. Trent Rosecrans of The Athletic, he is back at home for a couple of days, so he wasn't out there. Zach Buchanan left the Cincinnati Enquirer, so he's in Arizona, but he no longer covers the Reds. So it's basically Mark Sheldon, John Fay, and there's one other guy out there covering it for the Enquirer right now, Adam Baum. And I'm not sure if he's going to be the guy that takes over for Zach Buchanan or if he's just filling in right now. But so hopefully we can get some clarification on this. But Brian Price said that Jose Siri is probably not going to play again this spring. Now, the clarification that I would like to see is, does that mean he's not going to play again for the Reds this spring? Because, by the time he's ready, it may be later in the spring, and they want to, give more playing time to guys that are actually competing for a job on the roster, versus a guy like Jose Siri, who 99% chance that he's heading to Daytona, and he may get a September call-up this year if he performs well. So, I'd like to see if it's something where he's not going to play again this spring at all, or if he's just not going to play for the Reds in spring training on the big league club this year. So, hopefully we can get some clarification for that, but it looks like we're probably not going to see Jose Siri, at least in the near future, on the big league club. So spring training got underway for the minor league pitchers and catchers on February 28th. Position players don't show up until March 4th. That's tomorrow. I'm recording this at 3:30 on Saturday, March 3rd. So they'll show up tomorrow. They'll start getting underway on Monday. So spring training's almost ready to go. If you missed the article I had last week, I've got the entire spring training roster for the minor league system. All 160 guys who are going to be out in Goodyear on the minor league side of camp. So if you're going to be out in Arizona, you want to swing by and catch up on some of the spring training ongoings on the backfields. You have a good idea of who's going to be there. And games start on March 17th, which is 2 weeks from now. So I'll be arriving 2 days later in Arizona. Or is it 1 day later? Well, I'll get in Arizona on March 18th, but it'll be like late in the evening. So my first games will be on the 19th. So I won't miss too much as far as the games go, but it's going to be another 2 weeks or so until I'm out in Arizona. But I can't wait. I'm excited. I've been trying to figure out a way to get out there earlier, but it's not going to happen. But I think that's it for this week. If something comes up, not we, because one-man show at this point, but I will definitely record another episode. But for now, it seems like that's it. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week.